The rats abandon the sinking ship first. But the situation is different in the Kremlin. On that massive, decaying and sinking imperial ship, it is not the rats who first sense the danger and rush to the lifeboats, but the captains themselves. Right now, in Moscow's most secure and secret offices, the generals managing Putin's war in Ukraine are no longer making plans for victory. On their desks are not winter offensive plans, but personal escape plans prepared for D-Day. This is not an allegation, but a concrete reality confirmed by intelligence reports and leaked analyses. This time, those trying to escape are not just ordinary oligarchs chasing their fortunes. The real danger and the real sign of collapse is coming from the core of the system. We are talking about military intelligence and foreign intelligence generals who know the bitter reality on the front lines unfiltered, the upper echelons of the Federal Security Service, which is supposed to control the home front, and even the Kremlin's most loyal ideologues. These men know firsthand how Ukraine's technological asymmetry has turned systems like the S-400 into a source of shame. They see how the logistical lines are being choked off and how the army is rotting from within. They have realized that victory is impossible, and now they have only one goal: not to be buried under the rubble. So, where are these new elite refugees going? The doors to their old, comfortable harbors are now closed forever. The West's blanket sanctions shield has turned the Londongrad myth, the penthouse apartments in New York, and the secret Swiss bank accounts into ghosts. This has forced those at the top of the regime to use the world's darkest, most complex, and most dangerous financial and geographical routes to protect their wealth and families. The undisputed capital of these new escape routes is Dubai, the glittering metropolis of the United Arab Emirates. What makes Dubai a perfect refuge for the Russian elite is not just the luxurious lifestyle and sunshine. It is much more concrete, legal and financial reasons. The UAE refused to join the West's sanctions regime in the Ukraine war. This left Moscow with a critical window to the world by preserving its economic and diplomatic ties with Russia. Dubai's financial system is built on a culture of accepting money rather than asking questions. The UAE's extradition agreements with Western countries, and even Russia itself, are extremely complex, slow, and ambiguous when it comes to political crimes. This provides a vital legal shield for a general or oligarch who might be accused of corruption by a new regime. The second route points to a much more radical and permanent escape plan. Countries such as Argentina and Paraguay in particular offer Russian elites not only a financial haven, but also the promise of a new life and a new identity. The reasons for choosing these countries are also highly pragmatic. Latin America is physically thousands of kilometers away from both Russia and NATO's sphere of influence. This makes it one of the safest geographies for escaping the apocalypse in the event of a potential global conflict or nuclear crisis. Paraguay in particular, with its weak institutional structure and corruption-prone bureaucracy, provides fertile ground for acquiring new passports and identities. Argentina, meanwhile, has pathways similar to golden visa programs, where residency and citizenship can be easily obtained through investment. Latin America has a long and dark history as a continent where high-profile fugitives, from Nazi war criminals after World War II to generals of various fallen dictators, have disappeared. This means that those who go there know there is an established underground network where they can cover their tracks. The third route represents perhaps the most complex and dangerous gamble. Once the bastion of Western finance in Asia, Hong Kong is now entirely under Beijing's control. At first glance, it may seem illogical for Russian elites to move money there. Why flee the wrath of one autocrat only to seek refuge under another's authority? The answer lies in the fact that this move is not a signal of hiding, but of switching sides. The oligarchs or generals moving capital to Hong Kong are actually pledging allegiance not to the West, but to China, which they see as the new superpower of the future. This is a message to Beijing. We are jumping off Putin's sinking ship. We are ready to do business with you, integrate our wealth into your system, and work with you as Russia's new rulers in the post-Putin era. This is not a way to escape Western sanctions, but a way to seek the protection of a new master. Financial intelligence reports have detected an abnormal flow of billions of dollars of unexplained capital from Russian state banks to specific investment funds in Hong Kong in recent months. This is not an investment. It is a tribute, an entry ticket. This massive wealth transfer operation requires highly sophisticated methods. No one uses cash-filled suitcases or simple bank transfers anymore. Billions of dollars are first converted into privacy-focused cryptocurrencies like Monero or Zcash on exchanges within Russia. Then, these funds are split into thousands of small transactions via services called mixers to obscure their trail. Finally, they are converted back into dollars or local currencies on exchanges in Dubai or Hong Kong that do not question the source. At the same time, the families of these elites or their most trusted lawyers set up layer upon layer of shell companies in tax havens like the Seychelles, the British Virgin Islands, or Panama. The stolen money is transferred dozens of times between these companies, making it impossible to identify the original owner. Not all wealth is digital. Leaked reports claim that tons of gold and diamonds from the Russian central bank's reserves or private vaults are physically transported to countries like the UAE in diplomatic courier bags or private jets. This is a massive evacuation operation, seemingly uncoordinated but serving the same purpose: to extract personal wealth from the regime's ruins. To understand this landscape, one must look at Russia's political DNA. In Russia, power is never transferred peacefully or constitutionally. Power is seized, plundered, and this process is often bloody and chaotic. What is happening is a cruel repetition of history. We saw this most clearly in 1945, in the final days of Nazi Germany. Adolf Hitler, in his Berlin bunker, imagined he was winning the war by issuing orders to non-existent armies, while his most loyal men, Heinrich Himmler and Hermann Göring, were secretly negotiating peace with the Allies behind his back, trying to save their own lives and fortunes. History repeats itself. Generals choose survival over loyalty. We saw the same movie in 1991, during the collapse of the Soviet Union. High-ranking KGB officials and Communist Party elites foresaw the empire's collapse weeks in advance. And what did they do? Did they fight to save the country? Number. They quickly transferred the state treasury, party gold, and billions of dollars in assets to secret Swiss bank accounts in the West. And overnight, they transformed from communist bureaucrats into ruthless, capitalist oligarchs. This is in the DNA of the Russian elite. To steal a lifeboat as the ship sinks. And we saw the freshest, most recent example of this tradition of betrayal in June 2023, in Yevgeny Prigozhin's rebellion. As Prigozhin's tanks advanced toward Moscow, the private jets of the regime's top figures took off in panic from Vnukovo airport, heading for St. Petersburg. Petersburg, Dubai, and even Turkey. What happened that day was a crack showing how fragile the system is and how superficial the loyalty of the elite is. That day was a rehearsal. Now, the real operation has begun. The ripple effect triggered by this mass exodus preparation is creating a devastating domino effect, not only in political corridors, but directly on the front lines. A general negotiating for a beach villa in Dubai or a farm in Paraguay no longer fights to win the war. He simply tries to buy time for his own personal exit strategy. This general uses his soldiers on the front line not for victory, but as a shield, to be able to lie to Moscow. This creates a fatal weakness on the front lines that could be called strategic paralysis. This general takes no risks. He refuses to use strategic initiative. He would never approve a costly offensive deep into Ukraine. Why? Because the failure of that offensive could lead to his own removal before the day of the fall. Its success, however, is nothing more than a meaningless service to a collapsing regime. Either scenario jeopardizes his escape plan. Therefore, the safest move is to do nothing, i.e., to freeze the front. He sends false victory reports to Moscow, the center he knows is collapsing, claiming the front is a success story, while actually hoarding all resources, ammunition, and fuel as bargaining chips for his own personal evacuation. This is the internal betrayal that turns the Russian army's tactical defeat into a strategic collapse. This panic of escape is not confined to the minds of the generals. It spreads like a virus throughout the entire chain of command. The colonels and majors at the front see that the generals above them no longer believe in the war, that they are only concerned with saving their own skins. No officer wants to be tried as a war criminal in the chaotic order that will be established after Putin. No commander wants to be seen as a fanatical fool who betrayed the new regime or remained blindly loyal to the old regime until the end. This is a deepening paranoia following Prigozhin's rebellion. Loyalty no longer has any meaning. The result? The Russian army ceases to be a structure acting with strategic unity and turns into a group of mercenaries, each trying to protect their own boss, with zero morale. This is no longer an army, but a feudal fragmentation. Soldiers begin to ask, "Why are we dying?" when the answer is, "For nothing." That army is effectively finished. This spiral of betrayal leads us directly to the heart of the Kremlin, to Vladimir Putin's personal nightmare. Putin is not unaware of this betrayal. The FSB's internal security reports undoubtedly place these escape plans, the oligarchs' wealth transfers, and the whispers among generals on his desk every day. And this is Putin's greatest dilemma. This is his strategic impasse. He is completely trapped within the system he himself created. Trusting his instincts, Putin could launch a major purge, just as Stalin did in the 1930s. He could arrest the generals making escape plans, the oligarchs transferring their wealth, and the FSB officials whose loyalty he suspects overnight, declare them traitors, and eliminate them. This would make him appear to have re-established his authority in the short term. However, the domino effect of this move would be catastrophic, because Putin's system is not based on merit or ideology, but precisely on this corrupt, cowardly but functional network of elites. If he purges those generals, there will be no one left to manage the front lines. That army, that chain of command would collapse on the spot. If he jails those oligarchs, Russia's shadow economy and the import channels that circumvent sanctions would shut down that very night. If he starts an internal war within the FSB, the last security net holding the regime together will be torn apart. Putin needs these parasites, which are eating away at the system from within, to keep the system alive. If he removes them, the patient himself will die. Putin can ignore these reports. He can act as if nothing is happening. He can continue attending summits and smiling for the cameras. But this inaction does not stop the betrayal. On the contrary, it accelerates it. It sends the message to the elites that the leader is weak, unaware, or afraid. Passive betrayal quickly turns into active betrayal. At this point, a third and extremely ruthless player enters the equation. Western intelligence agencies like the CIA and MI6 are not just watching Putin's internal rift, they are actively hunting it. They are setting a diplomatic trap for these panicked elites through intermediaries in Dubai and Hong Kong. They are being offered a lifeboat through unofficial channels. The offer is simple and irresistible. Putin is finished. Either you go down with him, lose your fortune and face trial in The Hague, or you help us from the inside. Overthrow Putin, leak critical information, accelerate the collapse of the regime. In return, protect the billions you've stolen and enjoy your new life in Argentina. With this move, the West is turning the cowardice of the Russian elite into a weapon that will directly destroy Putin. This series of events leads us to a bigger picture. This is not just the betrayal of a group of cowardly generals, this is the total collapse of Putin's 25-year propaganda empire and authoritarian state model. Above all, this is the death of propaganda. In the studios of Russian state television, propagandists like Solovyov and Simonyan talk every night about the Great Patriotic War, the Holy Victory, and the March on Berlin. They claim that Ukraine is devastated and that the West has collapsed. But behind the curtain of this theater, the defense ministry generals who are supposed to bring about that sacred victory are secretly looking at villas in the United Arab Emirates. Those patriotic oligarchs are busy moving their dollars and cryptocurrency, not their rubles, out of the country. This is not just hypocrisy, this is the end of propaganda. Even the propagandists no longer believe their own lies. Putin's tacit social contract with the Russian people was always based on a simple equation. Give me political obedience, and I will give you stability, security, and national pride. Now, that contract has been torn up in front of millions of people. Stability is gone, security has become an illusion, and national pride has given way to the shame of plans to flee to Dubai. The second and deeper strategic consequence is the fragmentation of the state. The structure before us can no longer be called a state. Putin's Russia is not a structure united around a common ideology or national interest. It is a system built on a common pact of plunder and survival. Putin's system rested on two fundamental pillars: loyalty bought with money and fear that enforced obedience. War and sanctions have rotted the first pillar. The flow of money has been cut off, assets have been seized, and the economic foundation of the system has collapsed. Now, The growing certainty that the war will be lost is destroying the second pillar. The fear the elite feel towards Putin is now less than the fear of being tried in an international court or purged by the new regime after losing the war. When this pact breaks down and everyone is concerned only with their own survival, the system will fall apart. The state will turn into a feudal battlefield. Each general will see his own unit as his personal army. Each oligarch will withdraw his remaining assets to his own castle. This is the corruption of doctrine in Russia. It has become clear how hollow the vertical of power Putin built actually is. Power no longer flows down from Moscow. Power is scattered in the hands of panicked individuals. The end result is Putin's complete isolation. He is no longer a leader or a modern czar. He is a dictator, trapped in his palace, surrounded by wolves lying in wait, ready to sell him out at the first opportunity. Every man smiling at him, swearing allegiance, has a passport from a foreign country and a secret bank account number in his pocket. This is Putin's greatest dilemma. In the system he has created, there is not a single person he can replace himself with or trust. Because in his own system of ruthlessness and corruption, he has rewarded opportunism, not loyalty. Now those opportunists are waiting for the biggest opportunity, his downfall. This is not the beginning of the end of the regime, but the end itself. If you found the analysis in this video valuable, please like it and subscribe to our channel. Your support is crucial for us to continue producing this kind of content. Share your thoughts with us in the comments. Every piece of feedback is very valuable to us. See you in the next videos. Take care.